Hello and welcome to our session today. We are talking about the CharterSource Financial Expertise Service. So we'll be sharing more about how you can utilize this service at your school to ensure long-term sustainability. A little bit about who we are. My name is Holly Amaya, and I'm the Executive Director at CharterSource. My background is a variety of different experiences in charter schools over the past 20 years, including being a former school leader, a CSP grant administrator at the Department of Ed, an authorizer, and a school counselor at a few different charter schools in Minnesota. My educational background is that I have a master's in educational psychology from the University of Minnesota. Kelly Gutierrez is with us as well. Kelly is the CharterSource lead financial consultant who does this work. She's a founder of St. Croix Prep Academy, which is one of the premier charter schools in Minnesota. And Kelly has a degree in accounting from UW-Madison and has prior experience as assistant controller at Bank One and as an auditor for Coopers and Lybrand. A little bit about CharterSource. We work with schools in Minnesota and as well as some other states and provide comprehensive support in governance, leadership, and operations. And through that work, our goal is to help schools create high quality, sustainable educational options for children. And we work with school boards, leadership teams, and operations staff to improve efficiency, effectiveness, and growth. We currently work with more than 25% of the charter schools in Minnesota, as well as schools in 3 states. And that leads to more than 25,000 students who are impacted by our work. In our session today, first, we'll define what we mean by financial expertise. We'll talk about the benefits of working with us to do this work. We'll talk about what the difference is for the fractional CFO or financial expert role as compared with some of the other financial roles that you might already have in your school district. We'll talk about how we can help with different situations, how we do this work, and talk about the return on investment and added value of you utilizing this service, as well as having some time for questions and answers at the end. What do we mean by financial expertise? The person who would be in this role we refer to as a fractional CFO or Chief Financial Officer. So this is a qualified person who has this type of expertise, this high level expertise, who would be available to your school as needed. So you get access to this expertise without needing to do a full-time hire of somebody in this role. For our contractors that do this work, we look for experienced individuals who have specific expertise with charter school finance, state funding streams, and strategic budgeting. The person in this role will provide expertise around budgeting and forecasting, financial operations, compliance and reporting, risk management, and fiscal policies. And ultimately, they help a school maintain compliance with things like bond covenants and authorizer expectations. The benefits of working with one of our financial experts includes, as I mentioned before, you get the strategic financial oversight without the cost of a full-time executive. You get stronger budgeting, forecasting, and cash flow management. It improves financial transparency. So a lot of schools don't have large staffs to have a lot of the cross checks with financial procedures and practices, and this helps schools to have greater transparency for boards and other folks that they're accountable to. It helps you identify early when there might be financial risks and opportunities. And it leads to increased confidence among boards, lenders, and authorizers, kind of a second vote that you are moving in the right direction. And it supports navigating complex situations. So if your school is looking at potential expansions, dealing with any financial deficits, making a change to your facilities, going through audits, bonds, a financial expert can help in those areas. One of the big questions we get is what's the difference between the fractional CFO and the school business manager or the financial service provider that schools contract with? So, if you think about the first one, school business managers focus on daily transactions, managing accounts payable, payroll, reporting, and are really compliance driven. Whereas the fractional CFO focuses on strategy and oversight, interpreting the financial data, and is more focused on sustainability and risk management. When you compare with the financial service provider, a fractional CFO would advise on decisions, whereas the provider would execute the transactions. The CFO interprets reports versus producing reports. As mentioned before, the CFO is strategy and risk focused besides compliance focused. And the fractional CFO is a trusted thought partner to the school's leadership compared to the financial service provider who has a limited decision-making role. However, it's not a strategic partner versus daily operations. It's really a strategic partner who works alongside daily operations. So it's intended to be a role that works in partnership and in collaboration with the business manager and the financial service provider, with the fractional CFO supporting and elevating their work. So helping everybody to do their jobs better. So here are some examples of some of the complex financial situations that a fractional CFO might address. Addressing chronic or emerging budget deficits, managing cash flow challenges and enrollment volatility, supporting facility financing, leases, or bond obligations, guiding schools through leadership transitions or staff turnover. Oops. Supporting the development of a strategic, attainable annual budget and ongoing budget management, advising on procurement processes, agreement structuring, and negotiations to optimize vendor terms while ensuring compliance with state law, and optimizing return on cash balances through a disciplined cash and investment strategy. The way we do this work. First of all, this is really unique to your school and your situation. So the first thing we would do is sit down with you and get a better understanding of what you're looking for, what your needs are, and develop a program and an approach that works really well for your school and what your specific needs are. Generally, we follow these three phases with schools. So the first phase is discovery and assessment, which takes approximately 2 to 4 weeks, where we review your financials and identify priorities. Really, sort of a mini audit of all your systems and processes and documents and things to see where there are needs, where there are opportunities, and where there might be some challenges. Then we move into phase two, which takes 2 to 3 weeks, developing findings and long-term improvements. So putting together an analysis of what was found in phase one, and then also developing recommendations for how to move forward. And then the third phase, which is the most lengthy, is the implementation and support phase, where we help you to execute the recommendations that have been made and also provide coaching around the implementation of those processes. As with anything, there is a cost for this service, of course. As we mentioned, it is much lower than bringing somebody in full-time to do this work. But overall, what we've found for the schools that we've worked with, which I'll give you some specific examples in a few minutes, is that the return on investment is just wonderful for schools. So having somebody in this role prevents costly financial mistakes and crisis-driven decisions. It identifies savings and revenue optimization opportunities, reduces leadership burnout and turnover by clarifying roles, and as we've said several times, is typically a fraction of the cost of a full-time financial leadership position. Some examples. We have done this work and reevaluated a food service program in a school, which resulted in a $125,000 annual savings while maintaining the program's quality and compliance. This work has generated approximately 50,000 in savings and improved vendor alignment through competitive procurement processes for health benefits and food services, and also identified opportunities to maximize lease aid, increasing annual revenues by approximately 50,000 for a school. It's helped schools to strengthen relationships with bondholders and financial partners, leading to a more favorable bond refinancing structure, and provided financial analysis and strategic guidance that gave the authorizer confidence to approve a school expansion. So, as you can see here, these are just a few examples of how Kelly's great work has really supported schools and helped make some really significant impacts to their financial situations. And overall, as you can see here, this can be both proactive as well as reactive. So, ideally, the school is in a situation where they're just looking to maximize finances, and we can come in and provide that proactive support. And also, if the school is in a situation where there may be some more challenges, we can come in and provide that reactive support as well to try to correct issues and fix things that are problematic. Anything you want to add to any of these, Kelly?
What I would say from even a higher level of what the CFO can do that we haven't captured as charter schools in the two primary, or actually I would say three primary roles that we have for financial leadership, and that's the executive director, the school business manager, and then the outsourced financial service provider. I would say with the executive director, they are in a unique role as a school leader, as a charter school versus a traditional district. In traditional districts, you tend to have CFO level leadership shouldering the financial responsibility. And absent of a CFO position in a school, that really does fall on the executive director as the one responsible for not only the educational leadership, not only the people leadership, the community leadership, but the financial leadership, operations leadership. So it's a very broad skill base. The benefit of having a fraction of the CFO, which is where the word fractional CFO comes from, is you can get that expertise that is scaled to the size of your organization. And what that does is takes a good amount of pressure off of and responsibility off the executive director, and they can operate more efficiently and effectively in the other roles. It also takes pressure off of the board treasurer and board leadership, which tend to be volunteers. As far as the business service provider differentiating, I see the business service providers as absolutely essential. They provide a fraction of payroll service, accounts payable, MDE reporting, audit preparation. So there are a number of individuals there who are in fractional positions as well. That's essential. Mm-hmm. But they are a contracted vendor, and they tend to be operating in a rear view mirror. They're reporting on what has happened. They're not looking forward. So the CFO would be responsible for being at the table with the executive director, with the board leadership, with the business manager, making forward-looking decisions. And I think you touched on it, but the business manager is more of a transactional employee versus the strategic forward-thinking employee. So that's where I see the essentialness of a fractional CFO in a charter school that is to be financially and operationally stable, which in turn elevates the educational experience. That's all I would add. An excellent summary of what this position, what I envision this and have experienced this position to be.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kelly, for your expertise. So, in summary, CharterSource's financial experts help schools to ensure that their decisions support long-term sustainability and mission success, not just short-term compliance. The goal is to build internal capacity, improve clarity, and reduce stress on staff, not to take over the day-to-day bookkeeping. Cost is typically a fraction of a full-time CFO with significantly higher strategic value than reactive consulting. And I encourage you to contact us and we can connect about your school's specific needs and develop a quote that reflects your school's unique situation. You can get in touch with us at info@chartersource.org.